Hello. Justus, a member of the Gregorian mission, probably among the second wave to arrive in England, became the first Bishop of Rochester in 604. Rochester was one of 12 dioceses initially created in Anglo-Saxon England on papal advice by the leader of the mission, St Augustine. A charter confirming the grant of land for a church at Rochester is contained in the Textus Refensis, the Tome of Rochester, in the Cathedral library. Evidence of the footprint of that first building was discovered during work to strengthen the foundations beneath the west front of the cathedral in the 19th century. Further excavation in 1990 identified a small apsidal building a little over 40 feet long. After Justus's successor drowned off the coast of Italy in the mid-620s, the see remained vacant until the arrival of Paulinus around 634, another member of the Gregorian mission and the first Bishop of York, but forced to flee south after the defeat of the Northumbrian King Edwin at the Battle of Hatfield Chase and what proved to be a temporary reversion to paganism in the north. Paulinus was declared a saint after his death in 644. At the time, sainthood was by popular acclaim. It wasn't until the 12th century that Pope Alexander III began centralising the process, and 1243 when Gregory IX decreed that canonisation was a decision reserved for the Pope. Paulinus was followed by Ithamar, England's first native-born Saxon bishop, who adopted his biblical name from the son of Aaron, Moses' elder brother. The first Norman Bishop of Rochester was a Benedictine monk, Gundulf, appointed in 1077. Gundulf was a talented architect, not a word in use at the time, but in terms of understanding his role an appropriate description. Building of a new, much grander cathedral began at Rochester around 1080, and the remains of St Paulinus were transferred to a new shrine. A summary of miracles attributed to Bishop Ithamar was produced, and as a result he was also accorded saintly status and another shrine was built. Gundulf's skills were called upon by the new Norman rulers of England. Rochester Castle, Colchester Castle and the White Tower at the Tower of London were all built under his direction. The new Romanesque cathedral at Rochester was consecrated in 1130, with Henry I and Queen Matilda in attendance. There's a statue of Gundulf above the west entrance. Weathered figures on colonnettes either side of the doors are often referred to as Solomon and Sheba, but may well represent Henry and Matilda. A fire ravaged the building in 1137, necessitating a significant rebuild, for which Caen stone was imported from Normandy. The Romanesque nave and west front date from this rebuild, with a larger clerestory inserted in 1440. The only remaining traces of Gundulf's cathedral are in the crypt. After the death of Thomas Becket, Rochester became an important stop for pilgrims heading to Becket's shrine at Canterbury. Stables were established solely to provide pilgrims with hired horses for the onward journey. In 1201, a Scottish baker, William of Perth, on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land via Canterbury, was murdered after visiting Rochester. A local woman claimed to have been healed by contact with his body, which was taken to the cathedral and accorded a martyr's shrine. Becket's cult was so strong at the time that merely to be on pilgrimage to his shrine was seen as bestowing some element of divine grace by association. Following another damaging fire in 1179, the East End was remodelled, this time in early Gothic style. Transepts were added in the 13th century and a crossing tower and spire in the mid-14th century. The Lady Chapel was extended in the 1490s. The modern screen is a memorial to Bishop David Say, who retired in 1988. Significant but sympathetic restoration work was carried out in the 19th century. Work on a new crossing tower and spire was completed in 1904. Well, that's the end of this series. I hope you found these snapshots of what are highly complex buildings and of the people behind their design and construction interesting. I didn't get as far as the impressive spare sturdiness of Carlisle, or talk about the grand scale of Old St Paul's, which did get a mention in our last series on Christopher Wren and the rebuilding of London after the Great Fire. The great cathedrals at Ely, Durham and Canterbury have only received passing references, so perhaps an encouragement to further exploration and research. England's medieval cathedrals are treasure houses of history and art and community rooted in our landscape that fully repay any attention. William Blake wrote of building Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. I think that's exactly what the medieval cathedral builders set out to do. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available, or you can subscribe by clicking on the rose window over my shoulder.